show you what happens when someone tries to build a computer when they have really no idea what they're doing. Alright, now, unlike that guy, we should be more prepared before we start building our own computer. Building a computer is a relatively simple process that involves gathering all the main components and building a fully functional computer. Doing this is going to save you money and it's going to let you customize whatever PC you want to build. According to PCReview.co.uk, a tech review website that's been running for over 10 years, they built their own, on March 2nd, 2014, they built their own computer and they saved over $289 versus just buying a pre-built one off the store. So today I'm going to show you how to build your own computer so you can save money. First thing I'm going to tell you is the materials you're going to need. Second thing I'm going to tell you is how to place the components into the case. And the last step is how to power up your computer and finish your build. We're going to need a flat surface to gather all of our materials. We're going to need a CPU, central processing unit, which calculates all the calculations for the computer. We're going to have a hard drive which stores data on the computer permanently. RAM, which lets the computer access memory faster, but it's more short-term. And the power supply, which is going to power your whole computer and all your components. We have the motherboard, which is the main circuit board of the computer, which is going to connect all the parts together and it's going to relay information between the parts. And the case, which is going to come with various USB inputs and the power supply button. Thermal paste, we're going to apply thermal paste onto the CPU to disperse heat. The SATA cable is going to connect the hard drive onto the motherboard. Anti-static wrist strap you're going to put on your wrist to protect the computer from damage from static electricity that may happen, and a screwdriver. So I'm going to show you a clip about me building a computer. I'm going to walk steps by steps on how I did it. So first, as you can see, I put the anti-static wrist strap on my wrist, and then I attach it to a metal part of the case to ground myself. Then I'm going to get the CPU with the gold pins facing down, and I'm going to line it up with the CPU socket, and then put it in. Then I'm going to close the cover, and then latch it to secure the place. Now to make it easier on myself, I'm going to connect all of the accessories that come with the CPU, such as the fan, and the USB drives and the power button. Now these, you're going to have to look for little pins on the motherboard, but they're clearly labeled such as CPU fan, or USB, or reset, or startup switch. They're real tiny pins, so you're going to be able to find them all out. For this computer, we're setting up the power button, and then since it's an older computer, we're also setting up firewire ports and USB ports. Now, computer cases may vary, so you may have more cables or less cables depending on the case you get. Next, we're going to get the heatsink and place it on top of the CPU. This is going to help cool the CPU so it doesn't overheat. We're going to line it up on the motherboard with the screws and screw it in. Now, since this is an older computer, I didn't have any thermal paste, but before this step, you're supposed to put in thermal paste about a pea-sized shape onto the CPU, and then you put the heatsink over it, and it's going to disperse it over the surface to help with the heat. Now, in this video, I only put in 2 screws in, but you're supposed to put in all 4 to secure it in place. And then afterwards, we're going to get the CPU fan to help cool also, place it on top, and then connect it to the motherboard so it gets power when everything's powered up. And it's going to be labeled CPU fan in real tiny letters. You just have to look really close. Now after that, we're going to get the hard drive and simply just slide it into the hard drive bay. Really simple. Make sure it doesn't move. And during this, we're going to get our SATA cable that we talked about earlier to plug it into the motherboard. And then we're just simply go to the hard drive where the socket fits, line it up, plug it in, and then plug it into the motherboard. it's only going to fit one way, so you don't have to exert too much force, and it doesn't matter which port you plug it into. Then afterwards, when you get the RAM sticks, then just line it up into the little slits next to them in the middle of the motherboard, slide it in until the side locks lock in, and then we're good to go. We just put all the main components into the computer. Now we just need to power them up and finish the build. We're going to put the power supply in securely, and it's kind of hard to put in the power supply. It took a little while. But when you put in the power supply, you're supposed to put in the screws also, but in order to save time, I didn't show it. But it also depends, again, on the case you get. And then the power supply is going to come with all the cables you need to power your computer up. We're going to need to power the motherboard first. So we get a 24-pin connector from the power supply. You could count the little holes on the connector, line it up to the motherboard, and just easily put it in. If it doesn't fit, you probably just have to switch it around. Simple as that. Just like building Legos. Then we have to power up the CPU, which is, and the power connector is going to be next to the CPU where you placed it. It's either going to be 4-pin or 8-pin. And lastly, the last thing we need to connect is the hard drive. The hard drive uses a SATA cable. It's really thin, and you just go to the hard drive and try to put it in. And like how I said, it's like Legos. And if it doesn't fit, it probably doesn't need to go there. Or you just got to flip it around and put it in just like I did there. Now these are the main components you need to know to build a computer. You could add more stuff if you want, like a graphics card. But just for the sake of time, this is all you need for now. And then you just need to plug in the power cable into the back of the computer, into the wall, and it should turn on and you'll be ready to go. So today we went over the steps in order to build your own computer. First step I showed you is how to find out what materials you're going to need to build a computer. Second step, I showed you how to put in the main components into the computer. And third, I showed you guys how to power them all up and finish a computer build. So now that you know how to build your own computer, whenever you're at the store trying to buy your own computer, think twice. You could build your own, you could be saving money, and could enjoy using something you created.